27-13 final in the desert. A second-half shutout for that Patriots defense. Standing by for potential significant injury update on Kyler Murray. First, let's get back to the field. Mac Jones with Lisa Salters.
Mac, there was still some frustration at times tonight, and then the night ends with grins and hugs with your play caller. Just when did things start to change for you?
Yeah, I think we came here, we just wanted to win the game. That's all we cared about, and to do that, you got to execute on a play-by-play basis, and we did that pretty well. So shout out to the defense, had some great stops and special teams. So we're still working through it, but we came here to win, and we got the W.
It was still about the quick game tonight. You attempted more screen passes in a single game than you ever have in your career. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think a play is a play, and they have a good defensive line, and we have a good offensive line. So we kind of attacked them that way, and at the end of the day, you got to have a game plan to win, and that was our game plan, and it worked.
We see the frustration, the emotion, the sparks, and we think, uh-oh, something's wrong. But you say it's just competition, and that it actually can have a positive impact. How so?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is an emotional game, and I think everybody feeds off emotion, and at times we're too flat, and that's what I try to do is motivate my guys, and they responded really well, the defense, everybody. So shout out to everybody on our team for responding, and we got to get to work. We got to finish, get ready for next week against a good team.
Yeah, like you said, your defense gave you a boost, your rookies gave you a boost. You are in the playoff picture. How do you build on this effort tonight?
Yeah, I think the rookies did a great job stepping up and making plays, and you know, we just got to focus on each day, and starts with tomorrow getting recovered, and that's all we can control. So, awesome.
Thanks. Congratulations on the win, Mac.
All right. Thanks.
Mac Jones and the Patriots get the victory, 27-13. Time now to visit with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who called the game, and you can call it sniffing around, loitering, in the hunt, in the mix, whatever you want. But this Patriot team is off that line for the moment, and they're on the grid. I just wonder, each of you, how you characterize what kind of threat they represent or don't represent in a crowded AFC playoff picture, Joe?
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be the first to go, I think offensively they still have a lot of work to do.
I agree.
And this is a league where you've got to get the ball down the field. They haven't shown the ability to do that, like Troy said during the game. I don't want to steal what he might say in the next minute, but the offensive line is a big issue with this team, and the offensive line has suffered through injuries. I don't know how good they were coming in at the start of the season, but, you know, they're trying to call plays to get the ball down the field inch by inch, and we know that when it comes down to it, look at Buffalo, look at Kansas City, look at Cincinnati, look at these teams that can air it out and get yards in big chunks. It would be tough for New England to keep up with that kind of game at this point.
Then Troy, let me frame it. Let me frame it differently, Troy, just to ask you a more specific question on that point that Joe's making. Because this goes all the way back to August, when I think a lot of us are trying to figure out, all right, so wait, it's Bill, it's Patricia, like what are we doing? And it's December, and hey, look, the defense was awesome here. But as Joe says correctly, offensively, they just seem so limited. I can't get how a coach as good as Belichick, going back to August to now, this is where they still are offensively. I just wonder what you make of all that.
Well, I would agree with that from the standpoint that, you know, I've been around football a long time. I played the game. I personally don't know of any defensive coordinator who I think would make a good offensive coordinator. And I think it's hard. I think it's the hardest job on the coaching staff to coordinate an offense. Defense is about hustle, and it's about, you know, rallying to the football. One guy can make up for other people not doing their jobs. Offense, you need everybody on the same page. Part of being a great offensive coordinator as well is yes, knowing when to call plays, but it's also getting everybody to buy in. It's not easy to do. But with that said, Bill Belichick understands all that. I've had conversations with him years ago when Josh McDaniels was leaving the first time to become a head coach, and how important it is to have a succession plan. So those are questions that Bill hasn't answered as to what went into this decision. It seemed a little unconventional. We haven't seen it, especially from someone who's obviously as accomplished as Bill Belichick. So it is a bit of a head scratcher initially, and they've had some troubles. And I know that with basically the same group, yes, dealing with the offensive line, Mac Jones hasn't quite looked like the same quarterback. The offense hasn't looked like it did a year ago, and that was a playoff team that was 10-7 and with a rookie quarterback. So the expectations that we would see a lot more this year, and it just hasn't happened.
Speaking of questions for which there are no answers, and we don't have a ton of time, but I'm interested in a quick thought from each of you about Arizona. Third play of the game, Kyler Murray gets injured. This is a season that's been a mess for them, really in many respects from the start. And now here's Murray injured. We don't know for certain what the injury will mean, but if it's an ACL, this goes into next year. How do you reasonably look internally at where you are and come up with an organizational direction if Murray's injured?
Man, it's just such a hard question to answer, and you just have to hope that that's not the case with Kyler Murray. Those are the reports out there, as we said during the game. Who knows if that's the extent, being a torn ACL. But, yeah, it goes into next year. Colt McCoy is a backup quarterback. You want to start the year fresh with somebody that gives you hope. That person is not on the roster at the moment for the Arizona Cardinals. They've had trouble with offensive penalties. They look sloppy. There's a lot of unknown with this Arizona Cardinal franchise, and the biggest unknown is what we saw here tonight, and that is the long-term health of Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and looking at this organization, I mean, there's been a lot of things that the play on the field and what we've all watched, hasn't been very good. And then there's the other element of what's taken place off the field. You got offensive line coaches who are being fired. Another assistant coach was let go in the middle of the season, and one distraction after another. You certainly have had these injuries, but even if Kyler were healthy, what is the offseason going to look like, and what is next year going to look like? This has been a dumpster fire for the Arizona Cardinals, and now with the franchise quarterback in question as to his availability for next year, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and a lot of really tough decisions have to be made.
Agreed. Well said across the board. And then, of course, Kyler goes down third play of the game, and whatever chance they had tonight obviously sort of evaporated, although you tip your cap to Colt McCoy, who fights as he always does. We will chat next Monday night from Chili Lambeau. The week of Christmas should be a blast, boys. Travel safely. I always enjoyed the time.
Thank you, Scott.
Right. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Joe, Troy. Back to the Patriots now. Every team in the AFC East currently over 500. The Patriots in that third spot, thanks to sweeping the season series against the Jets. After Buffalo hosts Miami on Saturday, speaking of wetter weather, that might be a snow game. New England visits the Jets host the Lions on Sunday. All right, plenty more to come from Glendale. We will get the thoughts from Coach Kingsbury and whatever update he might have on his quarterback, Coach Belichick as well. Ryan Clark here to show us how the connection between Mac Jones and Hunter Henry paid some dividends tonight. Plus, Army-Navy, under's a lock, right? Well, maybe not so much. And some FCS quarters, they made the bad beats as well. They're all on the way.